Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the best Black Friday deals that I was able to scoop up from my local Best Buy. This is an Asus TUF gaming laptop powered by a 10th gen i5 CPU and paired with a 1650 Ti. Now, regular price on this is $799. On Black Friday, Best Buy had these for $599, so I went ahead and picked one up. And at $600, I think this is a pretty good little laptop. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the unit, go over the specs, see what we can upgrade inside of this unit, then we'll run some benchmarks, and finally get into some PC gaming, because after all, this is a gaming laptop. So inside of the box, besides the laptop itself, the only other thing that I received was this 150 watt power supply. It does have a single zone RGB keyboard, so you can change this to any color you'd like. I personally really like the trackpad on this unit. It's definitely big enough for a 15.6 inch laptop, and the keys themselves feel great. I mean, you'll probably get something a lot better on a $1,600 laptop, but we're not working with a $1,600 laptop here. As for I/O, over on the left-hand side, we have our power input, Gigabit Ethernet, full-size HDMI, two USB 3.1 ports, USB Type-C, and our 3.5mm audio jack. Moving over to the right-hand side, we just have a single USB 3.0 port and a full-size micro SD card reader. For the screen, it's only 60 Hz. They do make a 144 Hz model here, but this is the lower-end version. It's an IPS, glare-free 1080p display, and I think it actually looks really good here. Around the back, we do have dual exhaust vents. There's two fans in here with two heat sinks, but they are connected inside, and we'll get to that in just a second. But first things first, I did want to go over the specs of this unit as it came configured right out of the box. For the CPU, we have that 10th gen i5, 4 cores, 8 threads, base clock of 2.5 GHz, max turbo of 4.5, but I haven't seen it go over 4.3 in this unit. The GPU is the GDDR6 version of the Nvidia GTX 1650 Ti. We have 8 gigs of DDR4 running at 2,933 MHz. It's a single stick in there from the factory, but we do have a free DIMM, so we can always add more RAM down the road. A pre-installed 256GB NVMe. We also have another NVMe slot and a spot for a 2.5-inch SSD. It does come pre-installed with a Wi-Fi 6 card, Bluetooth 5.0, and it's running Windows 10 Home. So the first thing I really wanted to do when I took this out of the box was pull the bottom off of it so we could see what kind of upgrades we could do down the road. Now this does come pre-installed with a 256GB NVMe drive, but over on the other side we have room for one more, so we can upgrade the storage in this way. Plus there's a bay for a 2.5-inch mechanical or SSD. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with any cabling, and I'm not exactly sure where you would pick that up, but there is room inside of the unit for another drive. It's got a 48 watt-hour battery, and like I mentioned, we have a dual fan setup here. And as you can see, the heat pipes are routed from the GPU to the CPU and then over to the two heat sinks we have on the rear to exhaust all of that heat. And like I mentioned, we only have 8 gigs of RAM from the factory, but we have another slot, so we can easily upgrade this all the way to 32 if you really wanted to. So now what I'm going to do is connect this to my game capture so we can get a better look at the screen, and we're going to get into a little bit of testing with this laptop. Alright, so here it is. I've installed a bunch of benchmarks and games to test out. As you can see, we have that 10th gen i5 base clock of 2.5. We have a boost up to 4.2. 8 gigs of DDR4 running close to 3000 MHz. And we have the Nvidia GeForce GTX 1650 Ti. So picking up a laptop like this, the main thing people are wanting to do with it is game, and it definitely does that quite well. But when you have a laptop like this might be the only computer that you have. So I kind of wanted to see how it also acted as an everyday computer. So first up, let's just head over to Asus's website. And we'll just go to gaming, desktops, laptops. And as you can see, I mean, everything loads up really quickly. We have that AX Wi-Fi built in, so we have Wi-Fi 6, and overall, I mean, this is really great. It's definitely a super fast little machine. 4K video playback is going to be no issue at all, so I'm going to head over to YouTube and I'll find a 4K video to test out. So from here, we'll make sure we go to 4K. I'm going to turn Stats for Nerds on, go full screen with it, and it shouldn't have any issues. Couple drop frames on the initial load in, but it's fine. I mean, this will do 4K video playback, most definitely. There's definitely enough power here for video editing and photo editing. Usually when I test a cheaper laptop, I go with light photo editing, but this will pretty much do anything you need. Given we only have that 8 gigs of RAM, and upgrading to 16 will definitely help you out in the long run, and it would be totally worth it to do it with a machine like this. But overall, using this as an everyday laptop, it should handle basically anything that you throw at it quite well. I did run a few benchmarks here. First up, we have Geekbench 5, single core, 1100, multi, 3531. It's definitely not on par with the higher core count Ryzen's, but for a laptop, I think it's doing a pretty decent job. Next up, we have Cinebench R20, and to my surprise, I actually thought that this CPU would beat out the 7700K, but unfortunately it didn't. We only scored a total of 2019. But keep in mind, the base clock on that 7700K is 4.2. This is only 2.5. And finally, we have some GPU benchmarks using 3D Mark. Here we have Time Spy, total score, 3,721, and Firestrike coming in at 8,663. Now it's time to move into some real-world gaming. I tested 9 games here. Most of this is gameplay, but I did run a few benchmarks. First up, we have Forza Horizon 4, 1080p, medium settings, really good frame rate here. The built-in Windows counter is saying I'm getting an average of 87 FPS, but I do have Afterburner running in the background, and my average actually came out to 73, but either way you look at it, still pretty decent here. Microsoft Flight Simulator, I definitely had to turn the settings down on this one. Low settings, 1600 by 900. We're getting an average of 40 FPS, and if you've ever tried to play this on your machine, you know how taxing this game can be. I was surprised that we were actually getting this frame rate here, even on low settings. Here's Subnatica, 1080p, high, medium mix. I do have the water set to high, but I did have to turn a few things down to medium. Overall, it is very playable. I was getting an average of 61 FPS by the end of my run. Skyrim Special Edition, one of my favorite games, 1080p, high settings, and to tell you the truth, this might have been able to handle it at ultra settings, but I didn't even test it. I think it looks good enough on high. CSGO, and again, I had to use that built-in Microsoft counter. It's saying that I got an average of 233 FPS. That's totally not true because Afterburner was stating I got an average of 187. Rocket League 1080p, high settings, got an average of 200. Totally playable here. And finally, for the games I'm demoing in this video, we have GTA 5. This is 1080p, and I've got a mix of high and normal settings. I got an average of 81 FPS. So while I was doing all my testing on this laptop, I also monitored temperatures. Idle were around 43 degrees Celsius, 4K video playback jumps up to 52, gaming on average 86 degrees, but I did see it jump up to 98 in the Far Cry 5 benchmark, and the maximum I saw this go up to was 98 degrees, and that's my extreme test. I run 3D Mark Time Spy and Cinebench R20 at the same time, so we have that thermal limit set at 98 degrees Celsius for the laptop itself, and we did hit that in the Far Cry 5 benchmark, so we could have got a little more out of it if it didn't thermal throttle there. And by the way, these fans are putting out when you're gaming. I mean, this thing does get pretty loud. We have those dual fans built in, and if you've ever heard a gaming laptop at full boat, that's exactly what we have here. It is very audible. So overall, I really do like this laptop, but there are a few things that get on my nerves. Now, regular price on this is $799. It's an $800 laptop, but it's totally made out of plastic. And recently I did a review on an HP that I picked up in an early Black Friday deal, and the build quality on that one actually felt a lot better than this Asus TUF that I have here. It kind of feels to me that this is made out of a thinner plastic than that HP was, and I paid a lot less for that HP. So is this worth $800? Personally, I don't think so, and that's the reason I didn't buy it at full price. I waited till a Black Friday deal. This popped up on my radar. It was $599. $200 off regular price, and at that $600 price tag, I really do think this is worth it. But at $800, I think it's a little overpriced, and it doesn't come down to the performance, it's actually just the build quality of the laptop itself. Because personally, I'm really happy with the performance that this little laptop's putting out. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. I really appreciate you watching. Whenever I find a deal like this, I usually jump right on it, and I usually do a Twitter post or a Facebook post or something like that just to let other people know that deals like this are available. So in the future, definitely keep an eye out because I'm always looking for good laptop deals, especially on something like this. If you have any questions or you want to see anything else running on this, just let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.